I think we're good. All right.
All right, everyone, we're going to bring the meeting to order. Welcome. Happy May. We have a number of agenda items tonight. We're going to start off with the PALM Science Curriculum Update.
Great. So we have, we have
You're first. That's right.
our science
Thank you so
co-chairs
much.
from middle school, Mary Arlia and Kristen Jacoby.
Hi. We're back. Give you our update on it.
You did bring goodies if you
Yes.
want to look at them.
Brought a lot of goodies.
Yeah. Oh, good. So
Yeah.
last year's didn't work out so well, huh?
Oh, yeah, no.
No, and right there
That's
is
why you
one of the
pilot.
main reasons why.
And
Once
then here's
we,
also what we'll be having,
Yeah.
like the whole kit and caboodle. We can kind of explain what's going on.
I should have brought my readers.
Here, Julie.
It's okay. We currently are in love with the book. This is our first time transitioning on totally online without a book. Mosamac didn't have that. And we thought supplementing with Rocket Lit, Open Syed, and IXL Science would be enough. Middle schoolers need a book. They need something to reference to journal in, to look at diagrams, to seek out help, and you can sit and pull it as a reference and just work through the material without that fatigue being on the computer. And they did have an online book. Unfortunately, like middle schoolers, you print it out and they lose it. You're constantly making copies. So it just wasn't fitting the needs in that capacity, but also it was on the surface great, hands-on, but not in depth. So we weren't connecting with the deeper content, the connection, the phenomena, and then building upon it. And Rocket Lit coincides with Mosamac. The nice thing was they extended that free pass using Rocket Lit, so we never did pay for that up through December. And we knew we weren't going to go in the direction with Mosamac. So we then supplemented with other materials and reading that we pulled from Pearson or Newsela or current events. Open Syed is still an open source. It is still all online platform, no book. And we really feel that that's the big key, is having a book for our kiddos.
We like books.
Yes.
You need
And they need-
tangible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they need to write. They
Yes.
do need to write and
Oh, I
journal.
love you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And in
Spots in
person.
there.
How about that?
There's parent shares, and I like how they do it independent, then they parent share, and then they have to rewrite it with more evidence. So it's heavy in the CER, claim, evidence, and reasoning. And that really translates. And as you get into that mode of repetition, it really makes them better scientific thinkers, more critical. And then IXL, we still use that, and moving forward, knowing what might come or is coming with our schedule change in middle school. IXL, we are going to retain because it is remediation and it targets kids that need special skills to hit, and then they build upon it. So if someone's not grasping a skill, you can use that tool quickly and easily for them to do it independently. And even if they can't do it, you can sit with them and they have great feedback. It's just having the kid read it, that feedback, but they can't move on to the next level until they mastered it. So that's why we are retaining IXL. And there's a game version, competition in the classroom. The kids really like that. As for our science performance levels, this is identical from last year. And we have a little note off to the side in 2025. Kids did take the PSSA science, but they didn't release scores because it was in that trial period. And they only released participation rate. That was it. And even in November, as of November 2025, there was nothing released even for participation rate.
And they're
Across the
not
state.
releasing any of that information. They're going to take, we just found out today, they're going to take, the State Department will take a number of months over the next few months to collect all the scores. Once both the science PSSAs are completed and the biology keystone, they're going to then review those and create cut scores after they've seen how students performed. And that's going to delay reporting on science until, they said, by, quote, by December 2026. So
Which really means probably 2027.
hot off the press.
Yeah. Earlier, at the start of like January, February, we started to look at other options, knowing that Mosamac is not going to be the fit. So we piloted what you have in front of us, Twig.
And Twig isn't entirely new to us. So this was on our radar the year prior. We did like Twig. We didn't love the first online virtual meeting we had with Twig, but we did pilot pieces. The problem was they quoted us wrong for triple the amount of teachers. So we automatically, when we saw the quote, we were like, oh my, like it was a little shell shocking. They quoted us instead of 5 teachers total, 5 per grade level. I know we're tiny and that's probably not what they were expecting. And so they were quoting us 3 times the amount of what the actual quote is. So we kind of went back, looked at these pieces. They kind of rolled out the red carpet. We got everything from them. We got all of the kits. We got student workbooks. We got the teacher editions. We got the teacher answer samples to it. We got full online access. Students have full online access. We got everything available to Twig in our pilot.
Wow.
Free.
Mary was worried that we were going to get a bill.
I kept saying
somewhere.
they
It's
have to
getting
send
too
us a
much.
bill. They have to. No one else does this.
So what they
I like that
do
training. That's nice.
is great and they do it well. So you get, my room looked like an Amazon warehouse for quite a bit. You get everything packaged like this format here. And what you get is the outside box tells you what's in it. The inside container is labeled. It has a pictorial, like supply list. My organizational brain loves everything about it. Ultimately what happens is then these stay with us and we just get replenished the consumables. So that's kind of how it works. But every module, which you see there are 2 within that book, gets one of these containers. So
Wow.
it's a lot for us and we're working on where that houses and what that all looks like and everything too. But we got a ton of stuff. So we were able to fully dig in, and at every grade level, what we did is a full section. So for example, Mary did the volcano hunters with her 7th graders. My 7th grade WIP students did the heat is on there that you see. So that you're seeing everything from there. We did the entire thing from start to finish. We did every aspect of the program to really get a feel for it. Instead of just doing pieces of it, we did everything as they intended, every lab, every activity. We did the 3D challenges, which are additional pieces. So for example, for this program, everything is infused to the students that they are the ones directing the investigations. And it's not just, hey, read this content. They're learning the content through studying what it takes to build an eco-city for having CO2 emissions. So it's a different approach. And it's not your typical textbook, but they're still learning in this integrative approach. It's the phenomena-based, which, can you click to the next one? It's really the focus for all of Twig. It's got those cross-cutting concepts. It's got the phenomena. It's got the PA steels. It's just where science is going here. We love the platform. It's very media rich, but it is really done well. And the kids enjoy it. They're working collaboratively, but there are independent pieces. It's really mixing up the modalities with the kids and what's happening. There's a strong writing component. There's a ton of 3D assessments that are written in. We're looking at how we do that within each of our classrooms. We did it as Twig intended this year, and then we started to tweak some to see how that works for us, for our current ways that we do writing for the students. There are benchmarks, which typically they don't test them in your typical test if you think. They're more performance assessments. So we've been looking at where do we do mini checks and where those mini pieces come into play. How do we give them credit for the book, but not just a completion score and all these aspects of what that looks for us. So we really were able to dive in and see really holistically what this program is, not just like a dip and taste of it. And for the most, I don't think we'll ever love everything about any one, which I don't think you can with most of them, but this one is like, I would say it's pretty darn good. It doesn't compare to many others. We have some areas, the labs, we are working on how we supplement stronger labs at times, and making it more in depth for the students rather than just a quick surface level touch on it. But that's probably the biggest part for us. The rest is done really well, in our opinion.
And this is the textbook. This is the complete textbook.
So yeah, so you have one, it says Bella, that's actually one of my current students. That's their book. So all these other books are the teacher version. They've got like the sample answers. That's the teacher one for planning. Everything is also online. There are videos. The kids have the full access that have The online has a glossary. It has background information, so there's more than is in that book. Every video that's provided in our PowerPoints is also available to them on those assignments. But what a lot of us have been doing is they give us a PowerPoint and then we tweak it. And then we link our PowerPoint to Canvas and say, this lesson is, slides 7 to 12. So the kids always have access to that slideshow, those pieces, and don't have to dig through Twig, always as well as where everything is.
And they get to keep this book? They take it home?
Yeah, those are consumables. We get them every year.
Okay. And the journal?
So they just get those for every, they get that soft consumable workbook.
But the journal?
That
Well,
is-
That
yeah.
Oh, it
is,
is
so
in here.
yeah,
This is the
Oh,
answer.
it's the,
okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's some built-in readings in the journal with some discussion questions and building upon like the video that they saw. So there is some good readings in there.
And you're using it now?
Mhm.
Okay.
So they have online, they have an online access to
Hybrid.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
So if they want to go back to look at a video that they saw in class.
They would have it in the slideshow, which is linked, because everything is linked in the Twig slideshow as well. Like all the videos, everything that we're doing in
Okay.
class, like we're showing it, but then the kids have access to it
Access.
and Twig as well. So they can get it in either our slideshow, which we've modified, or they can go into Twig and get it themselves too.
So every day, there's a slideshow.
Right now, yes, there's but a lot of it is like it'll say like, hey, in your Twig teams on page 17, we're doing this, we're working through it. Then they go from there. So it kind of guides the lesson, but
But currently I can say for where I'm at now, I'm into fossils and they're doing a storyboard and they're not on the slideshow. They're in their journals and it's 5 pages and they're empty. And it says everything you learned in the past 6 sessions, you have to apply it. There's a rubric that goes with it. They have to collaborate. They have to hit certain benchmarks in vocabulary to really show the geoscience process of something becoming a fossil.
Mhm.
So they are just focused on that piece, doing a storyboard currently. So they're not looking at anything digital.
and then there are pieces that are digital similar to that. They call them 3D challenges, and they're linked in each of those books will have one. So the one for this one was wildlife vehicle crashes, and the kids had to analyze a specific location with data and determine how they could rectify and resolve some of those things so that there were less wildlife collisions. And they had to take a whole bunch of pieces into the constraints and everything of, we can't just say, well, there's no roads. Right? Like we have to still have, what does this work? What type of species? They researched different types of, underpasses, overpasses, like all these different things. And they had to then present a proposal. They had a budget, they had everything to what to move forward with. So it takes them in a different avenue of looking at these concepts.
So Mosamac you did for the first semester?
We did like the first marking period.
The
I
first
did,
working period?
I did it the whole way to
you?
February with physics even.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I really kept going back to it and I'm like, well, we paid for this. Let's try this
Try
piece
it,
again. And I had started it last year, even parts of it, and it just wasn't connecting. It was a lot of superficial engineering of design that was elementary to some, and some kids would actually say, I made this in elementary school. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So then I would have to enrich it or say, how can we look at this different? Let's add some higher level vocabulary related to physics to really push it to go beyond what was being offered at that level. So I did mine till February because we went on our science, the physics of sliding up a Blue Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So there is a video that we did link if you weren't able to see it earlier. It's like 5 minutes. It just gives you more of that visualization of what we're seeing. But ultimately, there are a number of schools within Pennsylvania. A lot of them are elementary. There are 9 middle schools currently. Penridge is one of them. So that's our closest Bucks cohort going through. And we have, my own daughter uses Twig. My youngest uses Twig over at Penridge too.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
see
they're
the
the
parent
only
end, too.
Bucks County one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the others I think were like Lancaster area, Dauphin, like they
Mhm.
were a little further over, and I think some were further north too. So then ultimately what our plan is moving forward is we could do a 1, a 3, or a 5-year contract. 5 seemed a little scary to us. 1, we didn't want to feel like we were just doing the same thing again, knowing we want to move forward with this. And financially, it makes more sense to do the 3-year too. So it's just a huge jump and reduction in the 3rd year, which is ultimately their goal, right? And kind of doing that piece. So that's where we were looking forward moving there. We want to continue with the IXL as well. And then there's Brisk that we wanted to include, which is something we're going to pilot in the middle school science department next year. There are other secondary departments, things that are interested. We're going to see how it works out for us. So we're just doing like 5 teacher independent individual licenses with them next year, which is like a AI checker tool, but it also helps us grade and do different pieces with it. It's got a lot of capabilities beyond just, looking at writing and things from there. So we chose to go with the integrated modules. There's 2 versions of them. So ultimately, this is how we have selected the modules for our specific middle school. That is another big piece that stood out for us. When we looked at Open SciEd in different areas, it was very canned. While they were books that were separate, it went in a solid sequence and they did not want you to kind of deviate from that sequence. Where we still feel very strongly about our spiraling and how things work for us and our students' data have proven that to be successful, that was another piece for Twig for us. So what we have done is looking at these areas, there are some shifts in curriculum from where we currently are. We just took those and what we thought were the best choices for our kids and what was most meaningful for a 6th grader versus an 8th grader. There were some pieces there was one book, really, just one, right?
Just one
that we were really torn. We had it originally in 6, but there's such a base of cells in it that it just felt like it needed to be more with our 8th graders for those other pieces that we're building with them. So there are specific modules. What you're seeing in each of these blocks are like a book that you see. And that's how they come in that section. And this is the order that we've designed for our students to have as well.
And it covers all of the standards, steel standards.
So ultimately, budget-wise, what that looks like is the 3-year license is $100,000. The 1 year was $56,000, just to give you an idea, that shift in those there. The IXL is what we currently have, that building $6,000 license that we want to continue with. And then the Brisk is that $750 for the 5 individual teacher licenses.
And then is the 100,000 for 3 years of the student consumables, or is that a
It's
cost that
3
you'll do?
years altogether,
And
everything
even
that
your
comes.
replacement of your
Yep.
kits and things, okay.
Did you say the Brisk was per teacher or is that?
So there were multiple layers that we could do.
Yeah.
We could do individual licenses. We could do building. They even offered like secondary. And then there was also, or maybe was it building, secondary, and then there was full district
Full
prices
district.
we had.
Mhm.
So we could do all of those moving forward, but we thought it was best to kind of take a smaller look at it. There are some teachers that already use it. So like Jamie Guthier already uses it. I believe there's a couple other that are working on senior projects that are interested in utilizing it as well. But we're going to start with the middle school science department next year with that.
And the 750 is,
It's for all
Sure.
5 of our, for
Oh,
our,
it is.
yeah, for our
Okay.
science department, yeah.
Mhm.
I think there's only one more
Yeah.
slide. Yeah. So it just brings us to all those things we kind of talked about, that grand total for our 3-year. Or for our 3 years, the 100,000, the 6,000 is IXL every year, the annual. And then we'll see where Brisk takes us.
I know we asked questions along the way. Any other questions?
Yeah. just, I would hope, you're really, really confident that this will be a 3-year, like, hopefully you're not going to get into the middle of the year and say, oh my gosh, this is not.
Well, I think that's why we did what we did.
with Mosaic,
Yeah.
knowing that it was all online platform and
Yeah,
hesitant making that leap.
yeah.
So we were only willing to do just 1 year, knowing that that was very reasonably priced. It was
like $3,000.
$3,000.
Oh, wow.
So we're like, we can do
Yeah,
that for a
get what you
year.
pay for.
Yes.
That is true.
Betsy?
I don't think I have any further questions.
Audience?
Recommended by my 7th grader. She just said she loved it. There was a lot of writing, but other than
Yay.
that, she still recommends it. And my question is about the BRISC. If it's an AI checker, does that mean instead of writing in their journals, they have to type everything?
It's nothing
so
for the
that it
students,
can
it's for the
be-
teacher end. It's a
Okay.
teacher tool. So we can utilize it in a number of fashions. So we can do it to look at theirs. We can actually design it to help set up and provide deeper feedback. Like we can put all of the pieces into it and then tailor it from there as well. It's not something the kids will be using. It's a teacher tool.
Anyone else? Okay, are we good for it to go forward?
I would say that.
Okay.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we're on
You
to
too.
K to 8
See
school
you,
counselor
sorry.
support.
All right.
I know, seriously.
Alrighty, so Mrs. Dorward, come on up. Mrs. Dorward's our amazing school counselor at Tinicum, also one of our co-chairs for the school counseling department alongside Lori Turgeon at the high school. And so over the course of the year, the school counselors and I have been chatting about what programs they have to support their work when it comes to what we refer to and what we know as the MTSS triangle, so the multi-tiered systems of support. So I shared earlier today at our Act 48 Professional Learning Committee a little bit about that, right? And how for many, many years, the triangle was what it was, and it was all about academics. And then in the past 5 to 7 years, there's been a huge push in the Commonwealth and the nation to also make sure that we're including and talking about the behavioral component, right? And a really interesting quote that I heard that I'll never forget is that you will not be able to activate Bloom's unless you have first met Maslow's, right? So in other words, students won't be able to learn in the classroom unless they feel comfortable, safe, and cared for. And so with that being said, in our school counseling plan, which is a requirement of PDE, Pennsylvania Department of Education, our Director of Student Services, Lou DeFonni, works with the entire team of school counselors, our licensed counselor, our social worker, as well as stakeholders, board members, et cetera. And they create a required K-12 school counseling plan, which not just speaks to the behavior component, to the tiered component, but also to the career and work standards. So it's our school counselors who, with me as well, work to decide what are the artifacts that we're going to use to fulfill the requirement by the state to finish out the portfolios in grades 5, 8, and 11. So I did link in here for you to access at your leisure the school counseling plan that's called Chapter 339. But what I wanted to point out here is on the next slide, which is one of the goals that was in this approved plan was to implement a K-5 curriculum and intervention plan. And then I didn't want to take up too many slides. The same goal exists for grades 6 to 8. And at the time that this was written, there really wasn't a whole lot out there for tier 3. So that's that smallest percentage of students who requires very much individualized support in order to help them get through the day, to manage behaviors, things of that nature. And so at the time when this was written, as I put in bold there for you, we had identified and had been using a program called Second Step. Did you want to speak a little bit about Second Step?
Sure. So Second Step is teaches our, they sometimes call human skills, social skills. And so we talked about empathy, respect, problem solving, and students are taught those lessons. And Second Step is something that we've been using in the district since well before I started working here. I think I'm at about my 11th year. And for those of you who may know her, Terry Brown was 2 school counselors before me, and she was using Second Step. So it's a program that we've been using for a very long time. And one of the struggles we have is it can be a little repetitive. So our students have a little Second Step fatigue by the time they reach some of those upper elementary grades.
Mm-hmm. And even so, it carries into the middle school during mentoring time. So lessons and activities, some of them are based off of Second Step, others are school-based created activities or going outside for a nature walk or things of that nature. But what we're finding, and as Allison shared, there is that Second Step fatigue. And also it's no longer meeting the needs that we have in the district to provide our school counselors with the tools that they could use to help students to be successful on that other side of that triangle, of that multi-tiered systems of support. So we happened upon a really awesome program called, or platform called Character Strong. I was at the good fortune at the conference that I attended with PA Edge back in March. One of the keynote speakers was the creator and co-founder of this organization, of this platform. Really, really dynamic speaker, good human. We talked a lot about what it offers, and a number of the districts in that audience either A, already subscribed to, or B, were contemplating replacing their current program, most being Second Step, with this platform. So this platform is research-based, is vertically aligned, meaning that it looks at what you're learning in kindergarten, taking it up through the chain, through middle school. And as Allison was sharing, that fatigue is real once our kiddos get to the middle school. And so what we know with Character Strong and through the conversations we've had is that it changes the materials and the topics and the activities dynamically so that, excuse me, students who are in 6th grade do not see the same material as they saw when they were in 4th grade. And 4th grade doesn't see what they saw in 2nd grade. So it does really work to meet the needs of learners in a continuum of service to give kiddos exposure to different topics such as social awareness, self-management, decision-making, things of that nature that, again, suffice and meet the needs of helping to reach Maslow in order to be successful with Bloom. So for the 26-27 school year, this would be a pilot. It includes, again, as I said, lessons that don't repeat. It includes parent engagement, so conversations with the principal, the school counselors. We were planning on having some other activities like a parents' night. There's an ability for them to log in and to actually see what's happening and what sort of activities the school counselors can use when they're working with students. But I think for us and what we're bringing forward to you and why this compared to what we've had for a long time is the fact that this will amplify our MTSS process, our multi-tiered systems of support. Again, just at the Act 48 meeting, and Allison sits on that committee as well, one of our, and Cora knows from the Academic Achievement Committee, subcommittee, one of our goals is to ensure that our MTSS process is strengthened between all of our buildings, that it's common and similar in our approach, and also providing the folks that need the tools, giving them what they need. So what does that mean? And here's that triangle I spoke about. Right, so academics and behavior go hand in hand when it comes to being and educating the whole child. Again, working hand in hand with families and our community to support our kiddos when they're in our schools. And so, Character Strong, I don't know if you want to say something here, or do you want me to keep going, or?
Well, yeah, so I've been able to really explore the lessons, take a look at how it all works. And so they have the 3 categories of social skills, executive functioning, and regulation skills, but then it's broken up through character traits. So every month focuses on a different character traits, and there's 4 lessons within that month for those character traits. And it breaks it down into 5 parts, which is really nice. So there are some smaller lessons that could be done at morning meeting or discussion starters, or it might just be a picture and a question for the class of what do they think, or how do they see respect in this picture, and start conversation pieces. And then there's a little bit of a bulkier, longer lesson that really dives into it. So it's a nice way to keep the conversation going versus just that one time a cycle, going in, doing the lesson, moving on, and it can just kind of strengthen the components of the lessons.
And so that was one of my questions. Who delivers the lessons?
So right now with Second Step, the school counselors and classroom teachers alternate teaching the lessons. And so I would think, I'm not sure we haven't discussed it too much, that we would keep that model going, but that's especially nice so that the weeks that the counselors go in, there are those other pieces, to keep it going. And when the counselors are teaching the lessons, the teachers stay in the classroom so that they're a part, and they're hearing what's being taught in those lessons, so they can carry that through.
And those lessons are the tier 1, so universal, meaning all students are tier 1. And then what's really great about this platform is that, as you'll see on the slide here, tier 2 and tier 3. So tier 2 is approximately 10 to 12, maybe 15% of your student population, and tier 3 is about 5%. So those kiddos who really need that extra one-on-one support as much as possible. The current platform we have does not provide examples for our school counselors or our MTSS teams about functional-based interventions, as you see there. So what this means is Allison can be working with, the first grade teacher who's identified that a student could really use some additional supports. They then initiate that process where the child's grown-ups are involved from the onset. So no tier 2 or tier 3, we've shared this for years now, but no tier 2 or tier 3 interventions are in place without family support. And we bring them in, we talk to them about what's happening and what we've identified, or maybe a family says, hey, I'm struggling with X or Y. Do you have any supports you can give our students? And so this platform will allow for Allison and our school counselors to go in and can literally look through basically a file cabinet, quote unquote, of different resources that would tie to specific needs that individual kiddos might benefit from. And so I feel like this is a really great transition to something that will give us even more tools in our toolbox to support our current learners. And that to me was one of the most exciting parts.
So they start all the students, all the elementary students start with the program,
Yes.
and then they kind of graduate either in or out. And
Not really. So no. So tier 1 means that those are like the general lessons. So like as an elementary school student, like throughout your career, we're teaching you how to, first you start in kindergarten and first grade about learning not to break someone's body bubble. And then as you get older, you talk about personal space, right? So those lessons and ideas grow upon themselves. And those are lessons we have for all 6 years in elementary school.
oh, okay.
It's then for
Then they move up.
Correct.
Okay.
So then if students need more support than just synthesizing what they're getting in the classroom,
Yeah.
that might be a tier 2. So then the MTSS team would then engage with each other, call in the grown-ups, come up with a plan, and then now they can go into this program and say, okay, these are the things that have been identified. Here's a tool, here's an idea, here's an example of what we might try with this kiddo. And then there's data they can collect. Parents come back in grown-ups come back in for a meeting, and then we kind of grow from there. And then if a student still is not responding to those interventions, then that's your tier 3. So that's the most individualized support. Again, grown-ups are involved throughout that entire process.
So what is the team made up of, the MTSS team?
Yep. So in each of our buildings, all 5 of our buildings, but in each of our buildings, the MTSS team, your multi-tiered systems of support, will include the principal, the school counselor. At each of the elementary schools, we have an individual who's 0.5 reading specialist, 0.5 MTSS coordinator. And then they work together with the classroom teacher. And then sometimes we'll bring in other folks, Mr. DeFonte, maybe a special education teacher. I've participated in those meetings as well.
So the tier 2 could possibly be more than one student, but it wouldn't be the whole class.
Yes,
And then
so-
tier 3 would be an individual.
Exactly right. So exactly. So if you think about that invert, like you think about that triangle,
Got
the
it.
whole class is tier 1. Small groups are tier 2. So when, for example, Mrs. Dorward, she might have a group, again, by invitation, and parents or grown-ups can accept or not, fish, for example, families in separate households. So then a group of kiddos might come down during lunch 2 times every other week to have conversations and get to know each other and talk about their experiences. That's a tier 2 intervention because it's a small group. And then tier 3 would be your one-on-one approach.
Thank you. That's the first time I really understood that.
I'm curious about the screening tools and the progress monitoring tools. What do those look like? Just curious.
So the screening tool is, they suggest a screener, but we already use one, so I don't think that we would make a switch.
What is it, a checklist or?
It asks teachers to look at different behaviors and do they see those behaviors within different students. But for this, we would just stick with what we're using, which is the SRSSIE. And then progress monitoring tools are, for example, if we have a small group and we're focusing, might be a friendship group. And so we might be wanting to see, is the student interacting positively with their peers? Are they regulating their emotions? We will then, on a regular basis, go to the teacher and they just fill out a Likert scale. Are they seeing the student using these coping skills that they're learning? And then, they'll just give them points, and then we just kind of track that along the way. So it helps us to know, is the intervention really effective for the student? And if not, what do we need to do as a result?
So MTSS was one of the topics that came up in the comprehensive plan feedback that we had reviewed, and several teachers had talked about needing more help, needing more support, needing more training. So what's the PD around this? The
Yep.
professional development, sorry.
Yep, so professional, so we, so first and foremost, our school counselors will have a half day on the 19th, so we have a professional learning day on the 19th. So part of that half day will be a session, a virtual session with a trainer from the platform, and the additional time will be time for them to work together, and I'll pop in and kind of dig through a little bit more, get their bearings straight first, and then from there, we're going to create a plan to then ensure that we have additional trainings where then our classroom teachers feel that they can understand the program and what that looks like, and without it becoming burdensome. Because again, this is it's pretty, like, when you go, it's very user friendly, very easy to access, very catching for the kids, for the teachers, fun little videos and brain breaks and things like that. But we're starting to put that into our plan. Yep.
Okay.
I assume it's significantly different than what you're using now.
Significantly insofar as just the access to all these different really cool research-based products. But I'm most excited about the tiers 2 and tier 3, that whereas our school counselors are amazing and their brains function at this really rapid rate and they come up with the best ideas possible, there's also right here. So let's not spend all the time kind of come up with something. Let's just go here and be like, this is actually really cool, print, and you're ready to go. So more time with kids, less time troubleshooting.
Okay. Betsy? You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, audience?
Oh, well,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
well, yeah, you mentioned PD for teachers, but I think that a lot of support staff are involved in the
Good point.
MTSS process. So where does their professional development come in?
Yeah, we can definitely add it to the list. I'll have a conversation with Mr. Defani and see based off of their hours.
I really
point.
feel like that, because they tend to be the ones, especially, I'm gonna guess with like tier 3s, that are actively supporting those students.
Sure. Yep, I'll have a conversation with him as we're planning the professional learning calendar.
I think in regards to that, that should also include the academic piece of it as well as the behavior, the support staff. Right?
Yeah. So in other words, you're saying like if we do PD on CKLA or something like that,
Yes,
could we
the
include,
support
yes.
staff should be receiving that development as well.
Or some form.
Something,
Sure.
yeah,
Yep.
right.
Because they,
Yeah.
So long as it fits within the confines of the contract.
Right,
Absolutely.
right. Always the fun part, right. Audience?
Just to clear, I missed the slide, K to 8 or K to K8?
K to 8, yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Do we need, does this go to the board? No? Okay. All right. Pre-K counts, contract and addendum.
All righty, so we're have with us this evening Mrs. Colley, the principal at Durham, and Nicole Featherman, who's the executive director at Lifespan. The committee had asked that we take a look at local child care centers. I shared that list with folks. I know last meeting we talked about how surprised we were that there really aren't many around, as we had talked about. And so there was a request from Lifespan to take a look. So the contract for next year mirrors the one that we've had, with one slight change, which is the request of the committee to consider an addendum to have 4 paid seats. So I'm gonna turn it over to these ladies to chat some more.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
So as Dr. Donnelly shared, and this is Nicole Featherman,
I know.
he shared that there's no changes in the contract that you have, but the request for this addendum and have some discussion about that. So we are excited that this is year 3. I can't believe it. And things have gone extremely well. We're very, happy to have pre-K and the opportunity for our kiddos here in Palisades to participate. I know for me as an elementary principal, one of my biggest worries was how am I going to cover, having the emotional support classroom in the building. And I am very thrilled to tell you that Nicole jumps in, whatever needs to happen. I never really am involved in that. So they've really been fantastic folks to have in the building. So I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to your research with Enrollment's been dropping, so the
Yeah.
idea of considering students being able to, I know there's been requests from families who have been interested in being able to pay for pre-K. So I know that we had talked about this maybe a year or two ago. So we find that, you know, there's that threshold of income for families to be able to participate. And if they exceed that, they're not able to. But there yet has been families interested in doing that.
Right. So over the last 3 years, you know, we've seen a variety of enrollment. So our first year, we started late. If you recall, there was impasse in the budget. So that was kind of the struggle that first year. We didn't open till like mid-October, which of course impacted some enrollment in that first year because people needed to, you know, get their spot secured, make sure everything was opening things. So there was 12 in the first year. And then the second year we were full at 17, which is the recommended a group for, you know, class size for pre-K counts. And then this year we're down to 10. We did have 11 for a while, but then that student relocated to New Jersey. But so we've had some inconsistent enrollment. We continue to have a lot of parents who are very disappointed that they can't participate if they're over the income threshold, which is 300% of the federal poverty guidelines. So it's roughly around $99,000 for a family of 4, which is sort of the most typical sort of family size for us. As I said, we've had a number of requests. That's, you know, we came once before to talk about this, but the program was, you know, still very new. And since then, though, you've had other area centers close. Which has, I think it's Tiny Tots is probably the one that everybody is most familiar with. That has closed. And a lot of the other programs are only part day or part week, kind of half day, what I call church-based, you know, preschool programs. So not really geared for that full day or school day kind of span. So, just requesting that you reconsider because we still have, without requesting any more room or, you know, anything, we could potentially fill the classroom with a max of 20, which would allow for up to 5 community slots. And so the rest of the requirements other than the income component would still stay the same. We do have a prioritization, just for everybody's information, but it's not just income, but there is a prioritization about other at-risk factors. So it could be ESL, they have some kind of special needs, they may have a parent who's incarcerated. There, you know, there are a number of other factors. Foster children get priority placement as well. But being that we have this wonderful classroom and this wonderful resource here, we just, you know, want to really have a full classroom and for those kids to be able to take advantage with that private pay option. So it's only a few slots, but I think, you know, again, we get these people who are denied, you know, just because of the income component and really want to participate. That's the ask. It would all, you know, really just be an extension of the current contract, a yay or nay if you'd like to go forward with that. I know it's what the community has asked for, and that's why we bring it to you. It would, you know, we would reimburse the meals, which was really the only additional cost it would be for whatever students would be enrolled, you know, at the same rate that we do with everybody else. And there's also, I proposed a revenue share of the 10%. So whatever we collect, you know, we would give like a little back to the school for allowing that. Because the space, you know, a little bonus. But that way, too, you know, we can kind of reevaluate this after a 1-year trial and see if this is something you want to do. I would prioritize the 4-year-olds over the 3-year-olds. Pre-K counts does allow for both, but you know, as we're really looking at that kindergarten readiness factor. So again, it depends on who, of course, applies. But we would prioritize 4-year-olds, over the 3s. And then,
Okay.
just allow them to, fill the room, so to speak, because we've been a little short. We
Okay.
did want to change our slots from the full 17 to 15 next year, just because we've
Okay.
seen that experience where we're not filling, and it is a requirement to be,
All right, so
full.
this first line says, provide up to 5 community slots for interested families with a maximum classroom size not to exceed 20 students. So what you're saying there is that you want to change the what we were originally talking about, which was 17 down to 15, but then we'd open up for 5 community slots.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous. Yeah, I have to tell you. Only because, the whole premise behind, and I know this isn't new to you, but the whole premise behind, the pre-K and especially targeting children of families with lower income is to be more differentiated and personalized and things like that, because those children may be coming to us without having experiences that others. So 20 makes me nervous. And I even was going to say, like, I thought we were going to have, say, 15. And what I was going to suggest is if we decide to do tuition, that it's only a few slots, because I think I heard we have 9 signed up for this coming
We
year.
actually have 11.
We have
as of
11 signed up for
today.
this coming year.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'd like to keep the class size low.
Keep the class size at 17, then that would have been,
I'd actually like to go to your 15, total.
oh, so no community slots then.
Well, if we have 11, we could have 15, and if we have 11 students, then if we decide to do the tuition, it doesn't go beyond 15. If we decide to do the tuition.
So it would be dependent mostly on enrollment.
It would.
That's how you had talked about it last year. But for me, there's 2 things that I definitely, I haven't changed my mind from last year. Number one, whenever we have grants are great. We have grants to give us programs, and then the grants go away, and suddenly the district has to pick up and that's how our budgets get so bloated. And this is something that I don't see us continuing on. And the other thing is it's public knowledge that we are looking at the possibility of closing a building, and we don't know which one it'll be. If we do, we have a study going out, which we'll be learning more about. And I think this is really a bad time to make a commitment like this for whatever. So that's my thought. And Betsy, you teach, so you can't say
I
anything.
can't
It's
say
hard, I know.
anything. The only thing I can say is that the value of having as many kids as possible participate in a preschool program is, I think that everything that we talk about academic success for students, the value of preschool for students just goes along with that. That's all.
It's funny you say that, because we had some of that discussion too. I don't disagree with that. What I struggle with is it the responsibility of the K-12 system
That's right.
to offer that, or and I have taught. Last year we said, you know what, we don't want to compete with our preschools. I've talked to some of this year I've talked to them, and they're worried about it. They're worried about the competition. But like we've said, we don't have a lot of preschools in the area, so I don't want to also shortchange parents as well. So it's like every time you think of, one aspect, there's always, another side to it. But the hard part is, do we put this forth for our K-12? I know you would say yes. I know you.
But aside from that, I see our district, because like Cor said, we are talking about, space use. Obviously, there is space. So that should not be the consideration. But I think I disagree with you on the fact that I don't see this as the K-12 system being responsible for this program.
Because
This
it's done
is-
by lifespan.
Because it's done by lifespan, because it's a state fund, pre-K counts as a state funded program. And Cora, I really do not see, I mean, there would have, I think, anyway, and you do more on the state level than I have been involved in the past 8 years. But I do not see pre-K counts going away.
I don't know that I do.
Just
either,
don't.
but-
I'm not saying that it
Yeah.
should go away.
No, no,
you're
I'm
just
no,
not
saying
you-
if
saying
it does,
that. I'm
No,
but
just
for the money,
saying,
the money. Yeah.
No,
I'm
but
just saying that the responsibility, I mean, what we have now is as far as I would be willing to vote to go. That's what I'm
because
saying.
you were saying about grants and
Right.
and then it goes away, and
But the
I
more-
just don't see money for
But the
pre-K
more
counts going away.
the bigger the program gets, then the more it's needed. And then it's like, oh, well, we have to have it. I've seen it with other things. It happens all the time. So, but I'm not saying it should go away. I'm just saying that we did this to help out children whose parents can't afford to send them to pre-K. And we feel that pre-K is important. So we voted this in, brought it in, and okay, we have that. But parents who can afford to pay your program, they can afford to take it somewhere else. So that's my feeling, that I just don't feel that we are responsible to take on that. I'd love to hear what other people think.
I just have one question before we go on.
Okay.
So you have a program at your Lifespan facility that would be 5 days a week, and like that parents could go there, but probably the factor here is that it's especially if they have other
District.
children. Yeah, and it's
Well,
at
yeah.
the district, and yeah, okay.
And yeah, I mean, again, this is really coming as parent requests to,
Yeah,
through us.
Mhm.
You
And
know,
you
we were
had
at the
them too?
kindergarten
Did you have them
registration.
too? Did you have parent requests too?
They don't necessarily come to me, but I know that every year that we've offered, there's been this conversation. We had this conversation 3 years ago. Do we want to, bring in tuition paying? And at that time, the conversation was, let's just start with,
Right.
non-tuition paying students. And I think the concern at that point was that the numbers of students that would be involved would exceed what we had. And it was set at 17 or 20 at the first year. It hasn't done that.
Right.
So what the concern was, year one did not come to fruition, which is why in year three, we're having this conversation.
right.
I think we talk about it every year.
Yeah, we
And I
did
think-
last year, right?
Yep.
We
And I
definitely did
think
last year,
this
yeah.
year, you have history now of what enrollment looks like. It's hovering around 10, 11, and there's room.
I mean, right now, this is a win-win for Palisades and the revenue that's gained, and our kids in Palisades are getting a free pre-K experience.
Right.
So it's
If they meet
like,
that
that's
money.
just the perfect.
Right, yes,
world.
yes, agree with that, yeah. Okay.
But it's
All
good to revisit the conversation when you have parents asking about it.
And just for clarification, per the pre-K counts regs, like I was going to drop it down to the 15
Yeah.
slots, but those could only be pre-K counts, and it would be expected that we fill them. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So like
okay,
if I-
no, so say that, so we
If I-
have to go beyond 15 to get tuition
If
students.
it was going to be private pay, right? I mean, you could cap the classroom size at whatever, I mean, it's recommended because of the at-risk factor that pre-K counts as a class size of 17. A normal in the community is a 1 to 10 or 2.
Right.
We have 2 teachers, for the program, so it would be a max of 20. Would be the typical community-based preschool size. Being that it's going to be, let's say, 75%, if we did the 15 slots for pre-K and potentially up to 5, to get to the 20. But if you want to cap, that is a concept for negotiation. And of course, it depends on who, wants to do the program. from the community, but we can certainly keep it at 17. That's only then, it would only be then 2 community-based slots.
But what happens if we don't get 17 kids that fall within the,
And that's the
thanks.
problem that I'm having right now is I
Right.
only have 10 and it really doesn't even justify.
so we
2
can't
teachers.
we can't do tuition if we don't get to the, whatever our bottom line number is.
Right, which is why I wanted to adjust it down a little bit. Because, historically, we only had
Yeah.
that 1 year that we were full.
Okay.
And here we have this great, ideal, gem of a classroom that is pretty much funded and, whereas a few others could take advantage of it. And again, that's the request from the parent community. So I just offer that again,
Whatever.
so that we could be full or
Whatever.
than what we've been.
But whatever you do, you're limited in the number that you're going to take on, and then you'll still have parents complaining because, well, they didn't get in, and
Well, what is the number of requests?
Well-
Can we tell? Do we
It's
know?
only been a few each
I
year,
thought-
but
I
that
had
are
no
over the
idea.
income. Now, if they look at the income guidelines and say, well, I'm over, so I don't even submit, that data I don't have. I just know the ones that we have, historically have only had a handful of about 5 each year that are over the income and want to be in.
So it was a little confusing what you were just saying there at the end though, because it sounded like you needed to meet a number
They want
before
growth.
you could open it up.
yes,
to
Yeah.
families.
yes.
That's what I
But
don't
you're saying the
understand.
reason you want to open it up to families is to meet that number. So I'm confused as to which one it is. Do we have to meet a number before we can open it up to paying tuition students or not?
Well, it's up to us to determine what the need of the number is. Because we have not hit 17, 2 out of the 3 years, my recommendation is to have exclusively pre-K counts funded slots at 15,
Correct, but we
And
aren't even
open-
there.
not this year, no.
So it still would not open up then to tuition paying families.
This is,
No.
Are you
The
saying
slots
you
go
could?
long.
I
think she's saying 5 could still come.
5 could
but
still come
15
because
have to stay
everything,
open.
I
So there's
still
only-
can't fill those with community slots.
Could you say like 13 high need and 4, you can
You could
make
make
those
whatever
numbers whatever you want them to be, is that what you're saying? And then no.
So, Jim Nelson, I'm a former LifeQuest employee, 20 years. So I'm very familiar with Lifespan. I watched them be created as a corporation. In reference to pre-K counts program, I've watched pre-K counts come to be a thing in this community, not here at Palisades. I'm talking about Upper Bucks. The funding for pre-K counts comes from,
State,
and
Department of Ed.
and who manages that?
the Office of Child Development and Urban
Right.
Learning.
And what does
Department
United
of
Way
Ed.
have to do with it? Any-
United Way?
United Way?
They're just the lead agency. So they have several contracts with multiple districts and community partners that
Right.
essentially write the grant for the
Right, and when
state.
the state had an impasse in their budget, did United Way make sure that funding kept coming in?
No.
So you were able to manage your program without state funds coming in internally because you're diverse.
Yes.
So you were able to keep things rolling. So that's one of the concerns that comes when the state cuts funding. This school district didn't have a problem because of your diverse funding and you're not that dependent upon state. So that's an item there.
But we didn't open until we had the state funding.
Right.
Like, we didn't,
The first
Until it
year,
was
because it
grant.
was a new
Right.
I'm talking about
program.
last year.
Right.
Yeah, last year we
Right.
I think
opened.
I think the question that maybe all of you are having is that the pre-K count slots have to, if we say to the state 15,
We got to fill it.
we have to fill them. If we don't fill them, they still have to remain open because in January, somebody could move into the district or somebody could say, oh, I didn't know you have that program and apply and they can start into the program. So there has to be a spot available. So the 5 extra are
potentially slots 16 through 20.
Yeah,
Even though you may only have 11 children,
Correct.
right.
So we
You
can,
have
it's
slots
not
of
an
12
either
through
or, it's not that you
15. I'm good.
have to have the
Slots
15 to be
16
able
through
to
20
take
would
the
end up
tuition,
being
which is what I was
private pay.
understanding.
Right,
Okay, that's, okay, okay.
but, and
But you
being,
must leave those spots open. I get that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
and saying there's
Okay.
20, you can have up
All right.
to 20. Does that clear it up?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Got it, yeah.
The other
Okay.
thing that is critical that seems to be lost here, this is a house of education. Yes, traditionally, public schools go K through 12. You will find, and there's tons of studies, and I know most of you are, I'm probably preaching to the choir about this, early childhood development is the thing. Meaning, if you have kids with special needs, you have kids that are slow in certain things, and if you meet their needs ahead of time and get them ahead of the curve, what comes to you, K, first, second, third, is going to be a lot better situation than if they weren't touched at all. And it's a son of a gun if you can't offer that to kids or families that hit that 102. One of the people that you have in your program, if I'm not mistaken, was out for medical. Now she's over the threshold, no longer a medical issue, and has the ability to be in the system, but doesn't have, can't be in the system because she's over the threshold. Loves the program, would be great for her family. There's a lot of families that are in that gray area. They're just over that threshold of that 99,000 that would definitely benefit. And in this school district of 100 square miles, how many pre-K programs all day?
Right,
How many?
right.
Now I'm asking, does anyone know that
Yeah,
information?
yeah, we did.
I know
Dr.
Springfield Township
Donnelly
doesn't have
sent that to us, the last meeting. There aren't many in the Palisades area.
How many are there
What do we,
full day?
a full day? Yeah, it depends.
I
don't
wouldn't
know
want
that there are
my
any
3-year-old
that
to go to
physically
a full
reside
day.
in Palisades School.
I don't know that I would even call this full day though, Jim. If you're talking about somebody who needs it for a working full day, the one down the road here is the only one that I know of. That's all.
Go learn, whatever.
The
Yeah,
others,
Like
this is
daycare.
school
Can I just
hours.
offer
This to
too,
me is
like-
not all day.
yeah.
I just wanted to
Let's
share.
come back together a
Yeah.
second.
You
I
need
just
to deal
wanted
with
to
the
share, like, as a K-12, as a board, really your work is you're leasing space
Right.
to a program.
Yep.
So if you want to continue to lease space, which you are, because we have a 5-year agreement, and there's community requests and the program directors are supportive of another way to make their program work, maybe
Listen
you
to
just
them.
let
Yeah.
them do it.
Yeah.
And our role as a board is to either lease space or not, and we've committed to leasing space and see how it goes. Because it's not our program, it's our building.
I think that's one of the worries, is that it is not our program,
Mhm.
but I think, if something ever happens with the grant funding, which hopefully it doesn't.
Sure.
But
But then it would
does it
dissolve.
come? Well, that's my feeling, but I think that's what everybody worries about. Is it then
It would
come to the
dissolve,
school to be,
yeah.
you've had this all these years?
Yeah.
and you-
you
I think
gotta
there's
have
that, I think that's some of the concern
Mhm.
from
I see.
different people, but yeah. Yeah, Stacy, go ahead.
If there were 5 spots available, but 10 families wanted it, how would you pick the 5 out of 10?
Well,
Yeah.
originally I said just
Yeah.
first come,
First serve. yeah.
first serve. But I mean, there is the prioritization that we use for the rest of pre-K. If that would, that could be a discussion, with the administration, if we only wanted to take some of those other risk factors, if you took income off the table. So ESL, foster children, whatever that short list would be, that would be something that we could work with. We just want to, make it accessible to the community.
I don't think a typical preschool will take any kids that are having chronic issues, right? Like a typical daycare preschool, not daycare, the preschool.
I mean, that varies based on program.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're all inclusive, so I really can't speak to what the other programs
No,
do.
my children went 3 days a week, 9 to 11:30, so if this is 5 days a week, and it's,
Yeah, aligned with the
6
school day,
Right.
so
something
it's,
like that might be easier for families, that did want to have a part-time job and go to work,
So the question is, do we want to accept this addendum, and then it would go to the board? So, and I know, Betsy, that you are kind of out on that. That's between Cora and I.
And we're on different planes here. I say no.
I think my feeling is, I think last year I said no. I think this year I'd almost like it to go to the board.
You can go to the board.
and have the board, let's have the board decide what we want to do. And I think your point is well taken in that, you know, it's not really our program.
How about that?
Yeah. I
How many kids come into kindergarten not having had any preschool?
Over 90%,
90%.
over 90%, I would predict. I don't have that specific number, but
That they don't have.
They don't
any?
have any?
They don't.
most of our students do not come to us. Marie, would you agree?
Without preschool? Really?
Do we have that data?
I can look it up,
I
but
don't know the raw number. I know we have kids
You
that
may
come
go
in
to
without
daycare, but
pre-K,
going to preschool
and it's
is
more
different than
evident.
daycare.
that's my point,
Right,
right? We
right,
don't,
right.
we have lots of kiddos who go to daycares, but those are not preschool programs that are accredited.
That's true. that's a
So
good
that
point.
differentiation is there are very few. Down at Tinicum, we have some kiddos who go across the bridge into New Jersey,
The Y program.
but
Yeah, the Y, I
it's
think,
also
is-
Wow.
And there's some in Easton, but.
That'd
there's
be an
people who are
interesting number
traveling.
to look at.
Yeah.
Wow. That surprises me that it would be that many.
Again,
But
we're in
this is-
school district,
they're definitely at a
100 square miles
Right.
with very little services.
Right.
You have to go to Quakertown, you have
Right.
to go over to New Jersey, you have to go up to Easton, you have to go to Doylestown, Plumsteadville. You have to leave the school district to get those services.
Yeah.
And depending upon what your circle of work is and your travel, that doesn't work.
One other quick comment. I would consider doing the 17 if that's what they recommend, and it's just really prioritizing those people who are more at risk and higher need, that we give them the resources that they could really use. So it would be potentially two slots. If
Or
you
three,
have
if
them
you go
classroom at the
17.
7.
All right, so you have here, provide up to 5 community slots for interested families with a maximum classroom of size not to exceed 20 students, which means that's based on the 15. You're going to 15
In the
and
grant,
then 5, right?
yes.
I think 20 is a lot. Oh, Jill, go ahead.
Food for thought both ways. I see some pros and cons.
Yeah.
I worry about students with that high of need.
That's what I just said to these guys. I worry about 20. Yeah.
That's a lot of high needs and a big number in preschool.
Yeah.
For that. So I would think
Yeah.
if we're going to hope for 15 high need students, we wouldn't want to add a full another 5. If we really only are getting 10 and we can have 5 others, that would be fine. Whatever the numbers are, but 20 feels like an awful lot for that high of need. The other food for thought is we have a very difficult time getting families into our school district, and preschools are a really excellent way to do that. And if we turn families away and we send them to the Waldorf school or wherever else,
Stay there.
we could potentially lose them versus starting them young and getting them in, and we always need more families in our district. So that's something to consider as well, but 20 feels high to me for that high of need. But I agree with it.
Okay, so our decision is basically, we're not gonna make a decision other than to send it to the board for the board. And then what we can do is give the board like heads up. You can share your thoughts, I can share my thoughts, Betsy can share hers, and then we can vote and decide where we go. So my apologies to you that we're not gonna have an answer for you now, but we'll have it on the next agenda.
It would have to go to the board anyway.
Yep, it's gonna
Yeah, right, I know,
Yep, it'll
but
be-
usually it's,
Right.
you know, yeah,
May 20th, it'll be on the agenda.
Right.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Bloomsburg.
Yep. So I put Bloomsburg specifically. I'm going to update the motion for next week to refer to it as Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, and Mansfield merged to form an entity. So the articulation agreement will be referred to as Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. However, the student, and it's in board docs, we have a student who is a pre-service school counselor who would like to do service hours here in the fall. And this is standard for when we have any of those requests. So that's okay, we can move that forward. It's always great to add more to the list. So that'll be on next week. Fun fact.
Free help is great.
Was that? Yeah.
Free help.
And yes, and fun fact, that individual is Scott Davis's daughter.
Oh,
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
And she'll be at Tinicum with Allison Dorward.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
All right, that takes us to discussion. I'm guessing the audience. Right? Okay. That takes us to discussion, direction on cell phone policy implementation.
Yeah, so I just put this on here because I took a note during the last board meeting that Sylvia had mentioned that she wanted the administration to do some sort of something with it, and I was IDK. So what do you want us to do?
Yeah, I think it's just, how did it go? What did we learn from it? And part of it is, I don't know if anybody saw it. There was a big study that was published, I think, in the New York Times last week, that was done that showed that with cell phone in districts who did cell phone restrictions, they didn't have student achievement gains. Well, I'm not sure that we did this for student achievement, but so now that's causing different people to talk about, well, should we have done this, blah, blah, blah. So I think, and again, that's not what Sylvia's perspective is. I think it just made her think about, what is it that has happened so far? How did it go? Is there anything we need to do differently? And I think she was almost thinking from almost like a policy lens, but she wanted the conversation to start here in terms of let's discuss it here. And then do we need any changes in policy?
Okay.
So I think just here, and again, they don't have to come to the meeting, but just, from Rich and Carl, just, how's it gone and that kind of thing.
Great. We can put that up for discussion in June.
Great. And then I know we're going to do data in June, bless you, as well.
Yep, end of year data, yeah.
Okay, I think that then takes us to informational, ESS annual substitute report.
Yep, so that's located in board docs. We shifted typically, or in the past, we've had Sukio and Samantha Hummer from ESS here. They went to fiscal because fiscal ultimately is the one that approves any changes to finance. So rather than, have more folks come out for longer, it's informational items. You can see the fill rates on that document on board docs. And the rates have been approved by the board already. And so that's listed on there. America 250 update I gave to the committee, a printout.
Yeah.
I have another one that for anyone in the community for up here that they put together. So this will be on Saturday, May 16th, following the 5K run here at the high school. This is down at Tinicum Park. Again, I want to reemphasize that it's at Tinicum Park, but this is an Upper Bucks, Palisades, whole entire community celebration. So everyone's welcome and invited to attend. We have confirmation that Shelby Labs will be there. Our Palisades a band of volunteer students will come together and do a patriotic musical tribute under the direction of Mr. Lowry. Our students from elementary through high school will have an art exhibition in the barn. And our TV video students all year have been taping vignettes from different historical sites, as well as different characters from the Tinicum players who impersonate someone from history. And there'll also be a few of those friends who are not attending prom on Friday night will be there on Saturday, just kind of showcasing and taping different folks, getting opinions and reporting live, as it were. So that is the plan for Saturday for Tinicum 250.
Do you need any baton twirlers?
Can
you know what?
That person? As a matter
Just
of
asking.
fact.
Oh.
We do, right here.
There
have an
we
open
go.
spot
There we
right
go.
here with the bagpipes after
There we
that. I do want to thank Michael for all the work that he's done over the past several months on pulling this together with a team. I mean, I felt like every week there for a while, you were like, I have another America 250 meeting. So thank you for that. And as I was doing the minutes for the cell phone policy piece, I was in Harrisburg last week, and there's a lot of conversation about whether there's going to be a state level cell phone ban. So
that has passed through, hasn't it?
Some committees.
Okay.
I think it maybe passed the House and it's at the Senate. There's two versions that are sort of going back and forth. So I think June is a really good time to talk about this again in the event that we could talk about our policy, how it's going, but also if there are any changes necessary based on what the state's recommending or what's law. So,
yeah. Okay.
And then the last thing I want to pull up, I know Director Beer mentioned this at the last board meeting, but it's always nice to highlight Palisades folks when they're involved. So Christina Cruz, who's our elementary librarian, as well as our elementary chair for the Reading and Language Arts program, has been working alongside fellows from across Pennsylvania and recently participated as a contributor to this really great document entitled Proof Points, Lessons from Pennsylvania School Districts Driving Literacy Growth from the Pennsylvania Literacy Coalition. Lots of really good stuff in here. we're in year one of implementation, so we're not featured yet, but growth mindset will be there. And I'll be reporting out on growth over year growth in our June meeting. I'll do beginning to end of year for MAP as well as CKLA benchmark data, so that we'll see, what kind of progress we made with that.
Perfect. All right, and that takes us then to the next scheduled meeting date, which is June 10th. And anything else from the audience? Okay, so we will adjourn and, 7:45, not bad. All right.
Great meeting, everyone.